Mandalorian and Grogu is the first theatrically released Star Wars movie in 7 years, but is it worth a trip to the theater, or much like the series it's based on, should you wait to stream it on Disney+. So overall, I liked the movie. I had fun with it. I think if you're already invested in The Mandalorian, Grogu, and this era of Star Wars storytelling, there's definitely enjoyment to be had here. The action is solid, Grogu continues to steal every scene he's in, and there are enough exciting moments, emotional beats, and fan service surprises to keep longtime fans entertained. But at the same time, the movie never really feels like a movie. It feels like a season of television compressed into a theatrical runtime, and because of that, the narrative feels clunky, repetitive, and smaller in scale than it probably should. Honestly, the best comparison I can make is the 2008 Clone Wars movie. That film infamously feels like 4 episodes of a TV show stitched together into one film, and while The Mandalorian and Grogu is definitely more polished than that movie, structurally it has a lot of the same problems. It also shares some of the same issues as Season 3 of The Mandalorian, although thankfully I do think it is more focused and more competent overall than that season was. The biggest issue is that the movie is basically just fetch quests the movie. Mando gets assigned a mission, travels to a location, interrogates someone, does a favor for them, goes somewhere else, fights enemies, gets another clue, repeats the process, and the film just keeps cycling through that structure over and over again. In television episodes, that formula can work really well, because each stop along the way feels like its own adventure. You get breathing room, you get time to explore characters, worlds, and side stories. But when you try to condense that exact structure in a movie, it starts to feel repetitive instead of adventurous. And there were multiple points where I genuinely felt like I was watching someone play a video game. You know the structure: fight a wave of smaller enemies, fight the mini boss, travel to the next level, solve a puzzle, sneak through a stealth section, then fight another boss. There are entire sequences in this movie that just feel like stealth missions or puzzle solving mini games inside of a larger RPG campaign. Ironically, the Disney Plus show often managed to make relatively small stories feel cinematic and epic, while this theatrical movie sometimes just feels like a really expensive TV special on smaller scale. One of the more surprising aspects is that one of the central plot lines is basically the exact same setup as the Clone Wars movie, rescuing Jabba's son, Rotta. And when I first realized that, I was worried because that plot line already kind of felt thin the first time, but I'll actually give the movie credit. The direction they take Rotta as a character is genuinely interesting. He's changed a lot since we last saw him, and they take him in a direction I really wasn't expecting for a Hutt character. There's actually some emotional and thematic material there that I thought had real potential. In fact, I almost wish the movie had focused more heavily on Rotta and his backstory, because that ended up being one of the most intriguing parts of the entire film. You can tell that there's history there. There's trauma, growth, and change that happened off screen, and honestly, I wanted more of that instead of constantly jumping to the next mission objective. And visually, the movie does look very good. You can absolutely tell where the budget went. The action sequences are energetic, the creature effects are solid, the costumes and production design still have that lived-in Star Wars texture fans love, and seeing this world back on the big screen again does add some excitement. There's something special about hearing blasters, ships, and lightspeed jumps in the theater again after so many years without a theatrical Star Wars film. And I've got to talk about the score, because it's probably one of the most unique musical identities we've gotten in Star Wars in a long time. Instead of trying to imitate John Williams directly the entire time, the music adds a synth-heavy electronic flavor at points that honestly reminded me a lot of Tron Legacy. It gives the movie a very different atmosphere compared to most Star Wars films. It worked really well and gives the movie its own identity. I can at least appreciate that it was trying something different stylistically. Of course, Grogu remains the best part of the entire movie. At this point, it almost feels impossible not to smile when he's on screen. They know exactly how to use him without completely overdoing it. He brings the heart, humor, and emotional warmth that keeps the movie grounded whenever the plot starts wandering too much. There are multiple moments that are basically pure crowd-pleasing, "aw" moments, and honestly, they work. Pedro Pascal still does a good job as Din Djarin, even though emotionally I do think the character isn't as strong compared to the series. Early on, his arc had such a strong emotional core about identity, belief, and fatherhood. Here, he's mostly functioning as a cool action hero who moves the plot forward. He's still likable, but the movie doesn't really change him in a major new way. And that's kind of the overall issue with the movie. It's entertaining, but it does not feel essential. It feels smaller than a theatrical Star Wars film should. The stakes never quite reach that epic cinematic level people usually associate with Star Wars on a big screen. There's no moment here that really gives you that awe-inspiring feeling like the best Star Wars movies do. It's more like spending 2 hours hanging out with characters you already enjoy. Now, to be fair, there are plenty of fans like me who are absolutely going to love that. Die-hard Mandalorian fans will probably have a blast with this movie. I did have fun with it myself. There are exciting action scenes, emotional moments, cool creatures, solid humor, and enough Star Wars charm to make it an enjoyable time at the theater. But if you're a more casual fan who fell off the Disney Plus shows or only casually follows Star Wars these days, I honestly don't think that this is a must-see theatrical event. This very much feels like something that probably should have been released directly on Disney Plus as a special event movie or limited series. The storytelling structure just fits television better than cinema. And while it's definitely more coherent and more enjoyable than Mandalorian Season 3 overall, it still struggles with the same issue of feeling like side quests, loosely connected together instead of one powerful cinematic narrative. Still, despite the criticisms, I can't say that I didn't like it. I had fun, I smiled a lot, Grogu is adorable as always, the action delivers, the music stands out, and it's nice to have a Star Wars movie in theaters again, even if this isn't one of the franchise's greatest. For me, The Mandalorian and Grogu is a good Star Wars movie, but not a great one. Fans will probably enjoy the ride, even if the story feels repetitive and smaller in scale than expected. For me, it gets a B+, an 8 out of 10, and a 3.5 out of 5 stars.